Okay, well, I'd just like to introduce you to my good friend Mandy Marshall-Taylor. She's currently working for St Peter's in Brighton as their relationship lead. Now, Mandy, you've had quite a lot of experience over the years of the marriage course. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Lou. So nice to see you. Thanks for inviting me on. Yeah, so we moved to Brighton about 7.5 years ago. We used to be part of a church in southwest London, which is how Lou and I know each other. And we did the marriage course when we'd probably been married about 6 years, when we were in London. And then we did the marriage course again quite a lot of years later, maybe 12 years altogether. And I've been married 21 years now. So I suppose it's probably been quite beneficial for us personally, since we've managed to get up to 21.5 years. So we've done it a couple of times. And then when we moved to Brighton, we didn't come thinking that we would be involved in marriage courses immediately, but we were asked to see if we could, I suppose, take a lead on it. And so we ran one, and then we ran another, and then we kept running them. So I think we've done about 8 now in person, and then some pre-marriage courses as well.
So you've obviously, with all this experience, you obviously think that it's really worthwhile doing. Can you tell people why you think they should sign up, why they think they should have a go?
Yeah, I mean, we love the marriage course. We love all the principles behind it. We find that whether we were 6 years in or 12 years in or 15 years in, there's always something new going on in our lives, a new way of understanding each other. And each time the principles that we've learned on the marriage course, whether that's listening more than talking, and I'm quite a good talker, but I'm not such a good listener. And I would hope to think over the years I've become a bit better at listening and seeing how important that is. I think we've really seen that the things we've learned together as a couple really genuinely change the way we interact with each other on a daily basis. And then when we started to lead the courses, when we got feedback from during the courses or at the end, we would hear so many different stories of couples who maybe joined the course perhaps because they were in a fairly good place already and they just wanted to make it stronger, whatever they had already. Or there was a couple I remember really clearly, obviously I won't give any names, but they came and on week 3, they decided that was it. They weren't actually going to bother anymore. And one of them had sort of dragged the other one along and said, look, we're living apart. I'll do this for you for our sort of last ditch attempt. And then they got to session 3, which is when we talk about resolving conflict. And one of them said, look, I'm not going back. I don't want to do any more. And during the 7 days between week 3 and week 4, they'd obviously had some kind of conversation, and then they turned back up again on week 4. And week 4 is around forgiveness. And we often find it's like the pivotal point of a seesaw, the forgiveness week. And for whatever reason, whatever conversations they managed to have in that hour and a half on that Monday evening, they came back to week 5, week 6 and week 7. And not only had they survived, if you like, the whole course, they had decided to move back in together. And they'd managed to talk about some of the stuff that had just been shoved under the carpet, with the business of life. It's what many of us do. And I think the marriage course enables people to have those safe and structured conversations, which you just don't normally have on a night to night basis with life and kids and work and demands of running life, really. And so the marriage course had given this couple a safe space to talk about some things in an environment where they couldn't run away, they couldn't shout at each other too much, they couldn't throw things, and they managed to really work it through. So we've seen a whole range of couples on the course. That's just one example. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of couples have gone through the course, and that's just with us in Brighton. I know around the country there's thousands and thousands of couples who've got a different story, I suppose, of how the marriage course has really transformed them. Yeah, and as I say, there's a whole range of normal, if you like. There are people who come who are really struggling, and there are others who come because they've got something really good and they want to protect it for the long term. They don't want to, they want to create and set some good habits that mean that they can sustain marriage for the long term, because let's face it, it's not easy, is it? It's not easy to keep going.
And I think this last year more than ever has probably taken its toll on a lot of marriages, hasn't it? So yeah, definitely a good time to be thinking about doing it. You obviously until this year the marriage course was never done online before, and it is now. Does it work online? You found?
Yeah, it was funny when we started thinking about it. We ran some pilots in March, late March, early April, out of HTB London, so that's Holy Trinity Brompton, and they started running some, wondering, is this going to take? Is anyone going to sign up? You know, and then sort of 20, 30, 40 couples joined, and then I remember messaging somebody the day beforehand saying, so what are your numbers looking like? And they said, oh, I think we've got about 650 couples. Signed up, and then the next day at 5 o'clock, so 2 hours before it started, it was more like 1,250. And then as they started that first night, I think they were almost towards the 2,000 couples who had joined online. And suddenly that just grew and grew and grew exponentially, because I suppose people thought, well, I mean, here we are, we're stuck at home. I quite like my partner, husband, wife, but do you know what? This is quite intense being all together. I guess we may as well try this marriage course. People have talked about it for ages, and we've never quite done it. And I guess we haven't got to pay for a babysitter this time. And well, I suppose it would be a nice excuse to have a takeaway, and well, maybe we could even get the journals, because then we've got something to actually do and something to look back on. And yeah, I think so. Over 10,000 couples just through HTB went online through the marriage course over that summer period between April and September. And then different churches around the country have run it in slightly different models. Lots of amazing feedback, actually. And when I say amazing, I really mean transformative, and people saying, you know, if this was the only benefit of lockdown, then this would be absolutely worth it. We feel like our marriage is in a better position now. We are so much stronger to face, you know, parenting our kids together, or perhaps job losses, or perhaps you know, losing loved ones, and the difficulty that this season is throwing at all of us.
That's amazing. And so it'd obviously definitely be beneficial for people who are in the church now, that know about it. Is it something that you could invite your friends to that maybe don't come to church, or would you
Yeah, absolutely. We would I mean, we definitely feel that the marriage course is accessible to everyone, with or without a Christian faith, or any faith. That the principles hold true. I mean, we know they have over generations and millennia, but the principles that are woven into the marriage course are made accessible to everybody. So there are a few references to the Bible and to the way we've been made, but and there is a prayer that's incorporated in the digital episodes just at the end. But of course, everyone has their own play button when they're watching it at home. So if they don't want to pray at the end, they don't have to pray. But we do find actually that most of our couples who aren't connected to church, they really enjoy a moment of reflection, whether or not they maybe engage with God in the way that others might. But it's totally and wholly accessible, we would say. And yeah, absolutely. Any couple in a long-term committed relationship, we say, are welcome on the marriage course.
And so for anyone who's sort of just in a, you know, well, no, let's say for people who think, right, actually, no, I want to do this now, I want to sign up for the marriage course, any particular tips for making it really worthwhile?
Yeah, definitely. So I think a lot of it is about the planning. So if your church is running on a certain night of the week, then in both your diaries, both people in the couple want to be on board with it. That also really helps. In some ways, I sort of wish that my husband was right here too, to really encourage the guys to go for it, because we often find that it's a lot of the females who do the signing up, and that's not necessarily always because it's us girls who are nagging on about talking about stuff. But my husband would definitely say, if he were here, he'd make it funny and do some kind of joke as well about it. But it's really definitely both sides of the couple who benefit from signing up to doing the marriage course. So you both want to be up for it. And I suppose be fairly open to thinking, okay, this could be better than Netflix for one night, I'll give it a go. And that could be your bare minimum. And, your expectations could be higher. But even if you just start with, okay, we'll give each other a night a week for 7 weeks. So both, put it in both diaries, and then create the evening, and maybe anticipate it. Take it in turns to cook. Maybe you want to cook just before you start watching the films. Make sure, in these wintry months, candles are lovely anyway, aren't they? But something that just makes it feel a bit different to every other night of the week. So choosing a room, maybe tidying it in the daytime. Again, that could be either partner or kids, if they're around, they could perhaps tidy a room. And encourage, if you do have children, then definitely tell them you'll be better parents if you can have this night. Because you probably will be, if you love each other well, then that spills out, and it spills out to your kids and other relatives as well. So yeah, plan the nights, prioritize them. Don't let anything else come in. Don't let a work Zoom call meeting interrupt it. Tell your partner that this is important to them by refusing another invitation, however appealing it might be. Try and reschedule everything else. Yeah, so creating an atmosphere, planning it, and then I suppose just being gentle with each other. And by that, I mean, when we raise things with each other, my instinctive reaction is to be quite defensive. Really? I'm not that bad. I do listen to you. And if I can try to hold my tongue and really try to listen to what my partner's telling me and respond appropriately and then think on it, rather than immediately attacking, then the chances are then my partner will be able to say more in a safer space, rather than fearing I'm going to react defensively. So if we both come to the conversation with a sense of, I'm on your side, I want this the way you do, I want us to be stronger, let's fight for this together. We know there've been hiccups or there've been potholes on our roads, and we know we're perhaps living in parallel lines at the moment, and we want to find a way of connecting better. So I will do this as best I can for you and for the sake of our marriage, because I really think it's worth fighting for. And I think if both partners go in with that attitude, then it's going to be great.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It's really, really helpful, and
genuinely my pleasure.
Within our congregation to sign up and to get their friends to do so too. So thanks so much, Mandy. Really.
No problems. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.